Have you ever wondered what these deal signings are that you see on YouTube or maybe on the news, and you're thinking to yourself, like, how is this applicable to me? Like, how does this apply to my life? Every president does it, every single administration. So you've seen a photo, the signature, the handshake, the headlines, but this isn't just a political moment, it's a procurement trigger. Oftentimes, this is where the opportunities are created before they become contracts. That pen stroke represents authority, funding, and execution. And the people in the room, they're not props, they're partners. The agencies and organizations responsible for carrying it out. Now, this is where government contracting really begins. Before SAM.gov, before any procurement site, before it becomes an opportunity, it has to be first signed and it recognized as something that needs to be addressed. I've been studying and strategizing on winning government contracts for years upon years upon years. And it's resulted in millions upon millions upon millions and even billions of dollars for my clients. And one mistake that I see most contractors make when getting started and attempting to win government contracts is they go on SAM.gov or they go to their procurement site where they've registered and they respond to the opportunity, knowing, not knowing that that opportunity has existed for at least a year, if not 2 years, especially the larger contracts, the 100 million, a billion, 500 million. Those contracts have been scrutinized, evaluated, and regulated before they become RFPs, before they become something that you get to respond to. And one of the differences between an amateur and a pro in government contracting is knowing where the money is flowing from. I call this a money flow strategy. A part of my money flow strategy is paying attention to this information. Oftentimes there's a lot of people who focus on these like immediate results, right? You just want to get those quick wins, get in, get it out. And there's tons of those in government contracts, by the way. Tons. I mean, so easy, low hanging fruit for you. When you're trying to win big, like tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, even $1 billion, there is a strategic position play that you want to take in consideration as you're building out your strategy, as you're building out your business plan. So today, I thought it would be fun to take you along. One of my practices, and it's kind of boring, but it's not once you see what it actually is. I remember years ago, I was a teenager. This is like 30 years ago. And I remember my mom used to watch C-SPAN. Have you ever watched C-SPAN? Comment below if you've ever watched C-SPAN. And I'm like, this is so boring. I just fell asleep on the couch alongside her. And it just went on and on and on. And I just thought to myself, like, this is not important. But here's the thing, everything that happens in government has an intention. Everything. So when we see C-SPAN and like when we see like a bill being signed, when we see all these things, know that that is money in action. That is money flow. And so if you want to be a part of impact and legacy and transforming your world, but you're being reactive, you're at the end of the entire play, you're going to lose more than you win. If you're a part of the legislation, of the conversations, the communication, the collaboration that's occurring behind the curtain, which you can do, then that's going to play a huge part in how you win. You see, a lot of small business owners think, well, that's only for big businesses. But actually, on the contrary, they want to hear from small business owners. because you, as based off of the United States, here in the United States, if you are registered in to do business in the United States, you're considered as part of the small business status, or the data, like the data point for small businesses, which generates 72% of the entire GDP for the United States. So basically saying that the majority of economic functioning, the buying and the selling of goods and services, is done by small businesses, the majority. So of course they want to hear from you. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to pull up my screen and show you clip by clip of a recent signing, a deal signing, and kind of just like help you see where these opportunities are. And I remember doing this. I remember the last big program that was signed in the previous administration, and it was the Infrastructure Investments Jobs Act. You can look it up. It's IIJA. If you just put IIJA and then Biden in YouTube, it'll pop up. It's like 3 hours long. He goes through the entire explanation of that program. But so that program was a $1.3 trillion, not a million, not a billion, $1 trillion program. And it was signed in past during the pandemic. So a lot of there was very little media coverage on this. I remember watching it, and I was taking notes. I was just I was so excited. There was so much in there. I mean, the majority of it was for construction and engineering firms. Majority. There was some consulting and professional service stuff, IT, tons of IT stuff. But the majority was roads and bridges and new construction, renovation, installs, things like that. And so I'm writing down crazy. I'm going, writing it down. I'm getting so excited. And then I highlight next to my notes, who I should reach out to. So I'm reach out to this client and this client and this client and this client. So I'm taking all that information, gathering it, and then I email them. I call them. I email it. And I'm take a look at your email, because I sent all of my notes. What they did with that was exactly what I teach is in the money flow. What they did with that, and just listening to what Biden had said about the program, his emphasis on where it would start, how it would impact federal and even the state and local level, what it would do for education and transportation and infrastructure, all of that stuff. It was just documented, boom, 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 all the bullet points for all the sectors that it impacted. And there was either 12 or 16. And so for every single section, send that as notes, send it over to my clients. My clients that are small businesses, the majority of them, few big international brands, but for the majority, small business, they were all able to pocket from that contract, that program, all of them. Every single client that was included in that email correspondence that got BCC'd, that got a phone call from me, they were all able to get cash from that deal. So when I'm watching President Trump, our current president, sign into deal, sign into action, these programs, these plans, every single one, I'm writing it down. And for my high ticket clients who are, they're really savvy. They understand the cash flow system. They understand money flow. They understand how the recurring revenue deal is. They understand that this is not about politics. This is just about delivery of economic infrastructure that impacts not just government contracts, it impacts the stock market. I'm not sure if you've noticed, if you're paying attention, because there's a lot of smoke and fire these days, but if you pay attention to what's going on, every time that there is a deal signed into play, stock market reacts in response. So definitely 2026 is probably going to be Really big year for majority of business owners that are know and understand how um, to craft a deal and to go get that money and not make it about emotional play. This is not about Trump. This is not about Biden. Like, I want to make sure that that's really clear. I don't talk about that stuff. I focus on what I can actually control. And if I focus on what I can control, then there's a win on there. If I focus on things that I can't control, that's just like distractions. There's so many distractions, right? There's a lot of noise. There's, this, that, and the other about government. And this is one of the reasons why so many business owners just don't even want to touch government contracting because they're paying attention to the noise, because they've listened to someone who pays attention to the noise instead of the opportunity that's right in front of them. Now, right now, we're in the midst of the holiday season. They're preparing for the holiday season across the United States, across the globe. But specifically here in the US, I want to talk about, because if you are a lighting design company, if you have a Christmas tree company, ornament company, if you design wreaths, if you are a musician or a singer, if you hang Christmas lights as a handyman, if you do any of that stuff, go to your local municipality, register as a vendor, because right now they're looking for vendors for those things for the holidays. If you're into pyrotechnics and fireworks, go to your local municipality, get registered. They've got 4th of July fireworks in cities across the US for, so there's tons of opportunities available that have nothing to do with politics. And so that is something to keep in mind. You get to customize your government journey, your government contracting journey, however you decide. It could, and ideally, you want it to align with your culture, with your mission, your vision, and who you are, your identity as a brand. So you don't have to do business with the DoD. You don't have to do business with HHS. Like, you get to do business with whoever you want. There's 90,000 government agencies in the United States alone. And I say alone because once you understand my system, the GovCon sales strategy, you can apply it to international agencies as well and ministries as well, like Canada, UK, Mexico, China, Sweden. These are all areas that I have consulted, coached clients to win government contracts in those regions, across the world, right? So these are opportunities that are available to you. So let's go ahead and get into the video. That was a good introduction, but I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what you're going to get in case you are tuning in. So let's go ahead and just share screen and get going. There you go. Let's see if I can make it bigger. Okay, cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, accompanied by the United States Ambassador to Japan and the United States Secretary of Commerce.
Pause. So what did he just say? He said he's like, basically the narrator or the commentator is calling out President Trump. And he's also calling out specifically the president of Japan. I'm looking for his name in my notes. Let's see here. And I'll tell you what's involved in this specific video shortly. Oh, goodness gracious. Here it is. So it is the Prime Minister of Japan, Yoshimasa Taichi, who signed, it was Donald Trump and Yoshimacha Tahichi, Prime Minister of Japan, that signed a critical minerals agreement and related investment industrial commitments. So in this video, you're going to see $600 million upgrade to ports and waterways, $500 million facility for diamond grit manufacturing, and $350 million lithium iron phosphate production facility. So what is that? That's totaling over 1,500 million in just this one deal with Japan. I'm just going to fast forward really quick. This is an acknowledgement. And this is their explanation, Commerce's explanation on the deal. So I'll just actually let you hear that a little bit.
Underlying reason that we were able to get all these deals done today. So the commitments ensure the economic and national security of the United States of America. We're going to be developing energy. We're going to be developing nuclear, semiconductors, and strengthening the entire domestic supply chain.
Did you hear what he said? He said nuclear, semiconductor. He said, so this is a commitment ensured to economic and national security and strengthening the entire domestic supply chain. So this is why this is existing, because the United States has an energy problem. And a lot of people will just overlook energy, but energy is associated with social media. Energy is associated with email. Like everything online is energy needed. All of the new development for housing, all of the communities that are being built across the United States to deal with high population, all of that has to do with energy. The grid itself, so having lighting in your homes and having like car chargers in your garages, those are all pulling from the energy grid. Everything is pulling from the energy grid. So this solution is to help solve it. It's not the only thing that's going to go on, but this is one of the deals that are going to help solve the problem of energy. The reason why I'm stopping here and point that out specifically is to help you understand, if you are not in energy, you're like, I'm in finance, Melinda. I'm a marketer, Melinda. It doesn't matter, because think about any company that's related to or is influenced by energy. It's every single company in the world. So this is not a one-time deal that's going to be signed into place. This $1 billion is nothing compared to what is needed to solve this problem, but it's mentioned here in this video.
Be developing energy. We're going to be developing nuclear, semiconductors, and strengthening the entire domestic supply chain. So I'd like to kick it off, right? And the first.
So he says it's a domestic supply chain. So he's talking about specifically here in the United States, companies that have done business internationally or have manufactured internationally. They're bringing their business back to the US because there's an incentive by it. You maybe have noticed like different commercials, TV, even like ads. I saw an ad on Instagram and it says like, it was a pillow company, and I saw a cat, it was like a kitty litter machine thingy, whatever. And it says that it's manufactured in the United States. Like they added a label onto the ad to say manufactured in or made in the US. Huge. This is like huge. This is not just these big companies. These are all companies that have products that are overseas that they're bringing to the US to participate in those incentives.
Company I'd like to announce is Westinghouse, which will invest up to $100 billion in nuclear reactors to restore U.S. energy dominance. And we have the co-signer is Bruce Flatt, who's the chairman and CEO of Brookfield Asset Management. So come on up. There you go. can hold it with the president.
So it goes on for every deal signed, and you can see just kind of the process. Everything is intentional. So the handshake, the pass of the card, the opening, the like the photograph itself. It's not just like oh, I'm going to take a picture with the president. This is like, this is a commitment. This is like documenting a committed state for Westinghouse. So this is what's happening in real time.
We're starting with the big deals. Then we have GE Vernova, also $100 billion by using nuclear, the construction of SMRs, and also large-scale power equipment such as gas turbines, steam turbines, and generators. And we have Scott Strazik, CEO of GE Vernova.
If you're thinking like, I want to be a subcontractor to these primes, 100% build relationship. Different ways you can build a relationship, because they typically have their own procurement system within their company. Go to their website, register as a participation or vendor participation, and that way you get notifications on private sector work and public sector work that could potentially need your services. So that's one way. And then we'll talk more about like
Brandon
specifically
Bechtel,
those
please come on
government
up.
contracts.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you.
Next up is Kiewit, also $25 billion in engineering, procurement, and construction services. Thomas Shelby, come on up, the group president.
Now you might be wondering, like, why is this in the media? Like, why is this on YouTube? Why was this on TV? Like, what's the big deal? Every single time there is a deal or order or agreement signed signed by the president, it must become an executive record, which means that it has to be covered by the media in some shape or form. So the easiest way is to get covered on like a media channel like MSNBC, NBC, ABC, Fox, all that stuff. That's an easy, like, okay, check. We did our due diligence and made sure that it has become executive record per the Federal Acquisition Regulations. That means that this is an official activity. There's nothing that can change this effort from not happening, not moving forward. It has to happen. Just like in the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, that specific program was put into play, and they had to spend a $1.3 trillion. Like, it was in a requirement. It wasn't like if we can get it around. It was like, here's 5 years to spend $1.3 trillion in addition to what you're already spending. So imagine your contracting officer, or more than likely your procurement officer, is like, oh my gosh, I have more money to spend. Like, I mean, that's a stressful situation when they're flogged with so many contractors that are not qualified, that are not compliant, that are missing their information in their bid response, like that get registered, they never do anything, that don't get like. You just imagine the stress of like a whole bunch of people saying, "Oh yeah, I'll do it," and then they never show up, and it's just like, it's a stressful situation. So think about it from that perspective. Like, how can I help? How can I help them help me? Like, how can this be a win-win situation, opposed to like, oh, let me get a contract? It's like, no, let me build a long-term relationship with those that procurement officer and that contracting officer. Let me build that relationship so that now it just lasts for a lot longer than this specific contract.
America is providing up to $7 billion in natural gas transmission and other power infrastructure. And we have Kimberly Gang, who's the CEO, with us today.
Now, behind every handshake, this is an operational activity. This is not just a formality, it is a commitment. It's a commitment to execute on these contracts. So these are deals, these are bills. Like they're saying, hey, this is an investment to this deal. And so because of that, now they have these monies that are going to be brought back into the federal sector and then turned into government contracts. It's really fun. It's an exciting opportunity if you just know that they're there. I'm just like,
Next up, TDK will build $25 billion in electronic components and power modules that are essential for the AI infrastructure. Noboru Saito.
They're talking about AI. Like this is a huge deal. This is not just like we're just going to make this more like, this is it's not useless information to know. They're documenting it, and all you have to do is pay attention. This is a 12-minute and 48-second video. This is the entirety of this specific event. 12 minutes. You have 12 minutes to listen in and find out, okay, this is a priority. They're signing this into action. I need to be a part of this. How can I be a part of this? Follow these companies. Follow them on LinkedIn. Follow them on other social media platforms. Follow them on YouTube. Like, get on their subscriber list. Sign up as a supplier. Like, do whatever you can for the private side, because that's what they're going to be focused on. Look at the media, see if they have white papers on this information. Like, dive deeper into the money that they're spending to fund this deal, because that's going to be, I am so excited. This is so cool. So how the money flow process works, we're watching an actual deal taking place. And once it's a deal, then it becomes an opportunity. So an opportunity is being brought to the federal level and then discussed by the different agencies that are involved in that specific opportunity to create a line item on the budget. Basically, I'm giving you like really simple terms, just not because there's so much terminology in government, right? So once it's a line item in the budget, then from there, then it gets either filtered down to the state local as a directive or as a grant. So municipalities do actually apply for grants. They apply for grants to either match what they have been able to circulate in the economy or to collect from the economy, or for specific programs or projects to fulfill. Because these deals are put into effect, it just needs to happen. Like, it just needs to happen. So more than likely, there'll be just dollars spent, delivered down to the state local level, and it'll just be a part of their procurement process. Then once it's a part of their procurement process, then they get to decide how it's organized. So if it's like big chunks, which more than likely more contracts are leaning towards smaller bite-sized contracts. So like MAS or GSA schedules, IDIQs, continuing service contracts for state, local education. So these like smaller bite size are more fit for where we're going with efficiency for government contracts. So then from there, then it's prime. And then once if you're positioned for prime, you do that. If you're positioned for sub, you do that. And then to your business. So you get to be a part of that level of engagement and follow the money, because it doesn't just go straight into a bank account or straight onto a line item. It gets evaluated, refined, defined, and you can be a part of that. You could be building out your entire past performance while they're still preparing the contract to be advertised. I mean, imagine it. You've got, let's say, one of these contracts, just an example, you maybe have like, I don't know, a year and a half. So you're like in 18 months. Well, if you know the details of that contract and you're like, I don't want to get a part of that deal. Like I want to get a contract within that program. Cool. Now you know exactly what's included. Go get that contract experience. Go get that private sector experience because you can leverage that to win government contracts. Go get the smaller government contracts from those specific agencies that are going to have that bigger contract later on. So this is how you start to strategically position yourself to win more, because you don't want to just like say, oh yeah, I'm going to go get that DoD contract for 332 billion and you don't have any experience, or you're trying to leverage someone else's experience. No, you like what they want is they want clarity, they want confidence, and they want consistency. And so the only way to do that properly is to actually show up as the ideal. I think, there you go. Okay. Here we go. Okay, there you go. So, as the ideal person. So, how do you show up as the ideal person? You want to showcase your expertise, your excellence. Like your business is already running. You already have a construction business, you already have an IT business, or maybe a consulting, or maybe a professional services company, which yeah, so you have one of those. Now you get to just leverage that experience that you're building in private sector to win government contracts. This is why you don't want to wait. This is why you want to take action right now, because you start building that past performance. You start understanding, oh, okay, this is how I respond. This is how I price. This is how I strategically position to win contracts. They're going to be smaller. They're not going to be 332 billion, right? More than likely, that's going to be cut up into at least 100, 200 different contracts. So we think about, okay, so what is the thing that I can deliver exponentially better than anybody else right now? And then just focus and dial all the way into that. Now you're going to be awarded for being niche down, being specialist, being an expert, being an authority, opposed to a generalist who's like, oh yeah, but I'm just looking at the dollar signs, because that's not this is big. This is like adult playing money. This is not like, you know, you just win a contract just to say so. This is like, you want to build a business that's going to withstand your lifetime. That's going to surpass you in time. That's going to be a legacy. That is going to be something you can sell one day if you choose to. Like that is what you're building. And so if you're building that type of business, then you got to do business right. You got to do it strategically. And this is a way to do it. So let's just a real quick recap of like what was covered in this. So in investments of up to $332 billion to support the U.S. critical energy infrastructure, including nuclear reactors, transmission systems, substations, with partners like Westinghouse and GE Vernova. These are two companies that if you are not following, then you should follow. That's the biggest pocket of money that they just talked about. So $332 billion investment. This is going to have such an effect on everything, right? This is going to affect Westinghouse's technology development. This is going to affect GE's Vernova's technology development, like huge. And so now we know, okay, so they're going to be involved in it. This is what they're focused on. What problem now are they solving? Because this is the solution. The nuclear reactors, transmission systems, substations with partners, that's a solution to a problem, energy. But now that solution is going to create a new problem, because now this investment doesn't just like, they don't just like shake hands and then it just becomes in play, they actually have to fulfill it. They have to construct it, they have to design it, they have to build the structures for it, the manufacturing plants, the systems, the software, all of that has to come into fruition to be completed in order for that investment to really breed the ROI that they're looking for. So how does that happen? Now you get to be a part of that conversation. Imagine you're on the private side and the public side. Oh my gosh, it's just attractive. So attractive. So exciting here. Up to $25 billion to supply large-scale power equipment like gas turbines, steam turbines, and generators with partnership of Toshiba. So Toshiba, if you're not familiar with Toshiba, Toshiba's been around. I think we had like a VCR that was a Toshiba in like the 80s, you know, like Toshiba's been around for a really long time. We don't see a lot of Toshiba products anymore. I think they do like here and there, like, you know, from their mainstream stuff, but they do a ton of commercial stuff. So one of the things that I teach my clients is to go into usaspending.gov, look up these companies, look at their contracts, see how long they've been doing business. Again, go register for their procurement, get registered as one of their suppliers on their website. Go to toshiba.gov, like, or .com, do business with them, blah, blah. Potentially you could be a sub to a contract right now. And then you build that relationship. Now, when they're ready to execute on the $25 billion for gas turbines, steam turbines, generators, you've already built the relationship. You already understand their way of their practice. And now you're just kind of leaning right into that contract. And now you get to be a sub on that. Or you could be a prime to a smaller project, but you know the ins and outs of the project because you have that unfair advantage. Okay, so up to $20 billion for thermal cooling systems, chillers, air handlers, coolant distribution in partnership with Carrier Corporation. So Carrier is huge. Carrier is huge. So it's a huge company. It is, I want to say it's international company. So same thing, it's just a different beast. You get to see the competitors at that level, but also look at competitors at your level. Like if you're at $1 million of revenue a year, go look and like go to USA Spending, look up Carrier, see the contracts that they're doing, scroll all the way down, right? Like go all the way down, see like the contracts that are at $1 million, 500,000, 200,000. Like look at those types of contracts and see, look up those competitors, those potential competitors, like what are they doing? What are their focuses? Are they on private and public? Things like that. I always recommend doing both private and public because you want those revenue streams and they both play well with each other because government is usually behind. However, they're speeding up. They're catching up with private sector quite well. But government is usually behind on like catching up with things like social media. They're way behind on that. They're still learning social media, right? Podcasting, they've got contracts for those. They've issued those contracts and they're still behind, right? So just like they're usually behind on some things, but that's why having experience on the private side, so like non-government side, is such a deal breaker because now you're standing out amongst everybody else who's like just has no experience, who maybe is leveraging someone else's company for that. Now you get to say, my company does that. And that's huge, 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 huge opportunity for your business. Okay, 30 billion via Mitsubishi Electric to supply power station systems and equipment for data centers. I think the word of 2026 will be data centers. Power stations for sure, because there's just so much opportunity. It's not even like, excuse me, I had the hiccups, but there's just so much opportunity. It's not even like, it's not going away. The more that companies lean into AI and robotics, the more data centers have to exist. That's just the name of the game. There has to be a data center for every single thing, like every single thing. You hear about a new AI tool. It's like, cool, awesome. And then it gets really, really big. It's got tons of users. And then boom, they need a data center, right? So this is why data centers exist. It's actually a very lucrative asset class because it's just storage. I mean, think about it. Remember those like you get those USBs and you plug them into your, actually, oh, I don't have it on this desk, but like plug it into your computer. You got like storage for days, and then you store things on your computer. It says like memory full, and then you had to put like those. Remember those little cards, those little chip cards? Totally dating myself, but there used to be like RAM sticks and stuff like that. I remember going to Circuit City and like getting those and like installing it into my computer. And all of those are like, for the most part, that I know of, they're of the past. Everything is stored in the cloud. So guess what? The cloud needs to actually physically be somewhere, and they're stored in a data center. So everything online is in a data center. So that, I think, is going to be the word of 2026. If it's not data center, it's going to be energy. So we'll see. We'll see. But up to $15 billion each for Murata Manufacturing, and it's an advanced electronic component, and Panasonic Energy Storage Systems and Electronic Devices. Again, two big names, been around for a gazillion years. People say to me, Melinda, like, I've never heard of a government contract. Well, these companies have. Like, this is where wealth, like the secret to wealth, like, I can't even explain it. Government contracting is like finding a speakeasy. You have to first be guided there by an expert, by someone who has been there before, that can show you around, that can get you comfortable, that can introduce you to people, right? And then the next time you're like, oh, okay, cool. I don't feel like it's like home. So that's really what government contracting is. But once you go in, you see who's actually getting into the speakeasy, who's familiar there, who's got like a regular drink, you know what I mean? These are the companies. And, small business owners, when I talk to them, many of them think you got to be a big company to do these deals. Melinda, they're talking about big things like this. So what? Like, you're doing business with the largest buyer in the world. If you're winning government contracts, you're doing business with the largest buyer in the world. That means that they are buying what you sell over and over again every single day. There's 90,000 agencies. So this is a good problem. Like, the amount of opportunity that's available for your business is exponential. Not to mention, your competition is like this small. So where would you want to be? For me, it's a no-brainer. And then lastly, manufacturing and logistics. I covered this earlier, but it's about $1.5 billion. So $600 million to upgrade U.S. ports and waterways for oil exports. We'll talk about oil another day. $500 million for high pressure diamond grit manufacturing facility for the U.S. Wow. $500 million for high pressure diamond grit manufacturing facility. I have never heard of a diamond grit manufacturing facility, but now I want to look it up. I want to know every component that is necessary to create a diamond grit manufacturing facility. Why, Melinda? Because there are tons of contracts in that. They're building something I've never heard of. Maybe it's normal. Maybe it's like in the manufacturing space, it's just a regular thing. I've done several manufacturing proposals and won some contracts in that space. So, but I've never come across diamond grit, right? So that's really interesting. High pressure, definitely like diamond grit in terms of the like home appliances. I've seen that, but for a manufacturing facility, what are they manufacturing that needs diamond grit manufacturing facility? That's just need to look at that up. Maybe this is normal. I'm not familiar with it, but comment below if you know what it is. Just educate me. And then $350 million to build a lithium iron phosphate production facility. Definitely know what lithium ion is. Definitely know what lithium iron is, and why this is like so exciting is because there's like this infusion between natural materials, natural minerals and materials, and produced minerals and materials. So like diamond, grit, lithium, iron, right? Iron, oil. So like there's a natural and like a produced material combination here, which is always going to be profitable on private and public sector. So what does that mean? What does that mean for you as a business owner? So the types of contracts that will exist from just this 15-minute video is infrastructure for sure. So that's developers, construction, it's going to be design, architect design, engineering, structural, MEP, ITLV, all that stuff, including, so we talked about construction engineering, including a lot of consulting, consulting for workforce, consulting for IT services, right? Like what solutions, what software do we need? How do we like build this out that is that will be easy maintenance? What are some of the pitfalls? That's also like, data analysis and market research. And there's just so much that will come from this, even just as simple as a white paper for these facilities. Like who's going to write the media coverage? Who's going to write or post the social media content? Who's going to contract for the drones to fly over these plants and cover, the facility? Like when you think about, like, Melinda, none of this is relevant to me. Actually, all of it's relevant to you if you know how to look at it. So infrastructure, manufacturing, that's a given. Logistics. So, I mean, if you're in logistics, this should be exciting to you. Like billions, I want to almost say nearly, yeah, over $100 billion. Like 25, what is that? 25, 20, 30, 45, and 75, 80, 90 billion. So 91.5 billion. That should get you super excited. Supply chain services. So all the way through logistics to fulfillment, packaging, QC, transportate, like the whole thing, the whole jam, the whole shebang from idea to completion. So much. So like if you do business with other businesses, this is a easy slam dunk for you. If you offer services, engineering, consulting, IT, plant operations, these commitments will trigger downstream contracts. So because of the scale, how is this positioned? So what I wrote down here is like location. The next thing is location. So where are they gonna put them? And so this is why I tell you to go read up on these private companies, pay attention to like what they're going to be putting out in the press for the next couple of months, because they'll tell you what the locations are. They already know, more than likely, they already know at this point where they want to have these facilities. If they are not even existing, if they're green field or brown field, we'll know from that. And then we can take it from there, because once we know where they are, then we know all the municipalities that are involved in that. So state, local, and then we know the federal agencies. And then we know, even if education is involved in that, authorities, so like the airports that are involved in it, the Air Force Base, like everything. We'll know everything. We'll know all of it as long as we know the location, and as long as we know the details, the actual details of those facilities. That will tell us so much information. Like it'll uncover so much information about these programs that it'll be explosive, in addition to what you're already bidding on. So one other thing that I noted here is what to do next. So what to do next? All right. I just told you. So obviously your SAM.gov, you're already registered, done. I would recommend, if you're interested in doing business private sector wise, definitely reach out to these companies. Position yourself as an energy solution or some type of language so that you can get into that environment within their companies. Um, and I mean, you could use that, like, say, hey, we just congratulations on signing a deal, blah blah blah. And then it's really quick. So Westinghouse was a 100 billion, GE Vernova 100 billion, Bechtel is actually a contractor, and so a general contractor. So 25 billion, Toshiba 25 billion, Carrier 20 billion, Mitsubishi Electric 30 billion, TDK is up to 25 billion. Their electronic components. Murata Manufacturing is 15 billion, Panasonic 15 billion, Ports Waterways Upgrade is 600 million. So you could look, just Google or ask ChatGPT where are all the ports and waterways. Right? Super simple. Or you could go to the White House website and find out. Um, Diamond Grit Manufacturing Facility. I'm totally going to look that up. Lithium iron phosphate facility. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? So this will definitely be really eye-opening. Hopefully this was helpful for you just to kind of see from like a strategist point of view, like how this works. And when I come across this stuff, oftentimes I'm not just sitting and like watching it. I'm just like listening to it, taking notes as I go, listening to it, and like responding to an email, or I send this video along with my client with my notes. And, I don't know. If you want my notes, comment below notes, and I'm happy to share it with you. It's about 3 pages long of notes from this 15-minute video, but you can see that there's tons of value in here. And then so like strategically, how do you use this for the long term? It's just start building relationships with those agencies that are going to be involved in it right now. And because you know the scope of work in those contracts, because they're going to tell you, right, within various ways, white papers and media updates and things like that. And you start actually building out your portfolio or your past performance with that experience, both on the private sector and the public sector side, so that you're preparing your business to win those contracts, positioning strategically with those relationships of those contracting officers and procurement officers that are involved. And when those solicitations are ready to come out, you'll know way ahead of time. And even teaming partners, this is giving you plenty of time to make sure that you win these big contracts, opposed to being reactive. So, because reactive really doesn't get you that far, but proactive gets you billions. I've seen it happen. I've participated in that journey with my clients, and I want that to happen for you too. If you're interested in learning more, if you're interested in diving deeper into the GovCon sales strategy, go ahead and click link down below to register for the upcoming GovScale Insider Masterclass, where I'm going to reveal to you the GovCon sales strategy and also how you can apply it to your business and customize your journey in government contracts, whether you're getting started or you're looking to increase your win rate in government contracts. I'll see you guys in the next one.